Good morning, everyone. How are you? Okay, so today study with me teaching methodology. The subject is teaching methodology, and the chapter you are going to learn today is chapter 5. It is about teaching and learning comprehension. Okay, with me lecturer Sophat. Okay, and the first point is about interaction. Look at the interaction. So, for most purposes, the teaching and learning of reading and listening can be achieved with the same basic techniques, guided by the same principles. So, in learning and teaching, reading and listening, we use mostly the same techniques and guide the same principle by the same principles. Okay, this make the teacher job much easier. So it is easier to teach reading and listening because the technique and the principle are interconnected. And good techniques can be used at most level depending on the choice of objective data guide example. There are two ways a technique can make comprehension work meaningful. So, in order to make the comprehension work meaningful, there are into two ways. First, it challenges students to think by processing information and responding. And the second is it is personalized because students use their own knowledge and experience. So this is the two-way techniques that a technique that can make the comprehension work meaningful by challenging students to think by personalizing because of the use of the student knowledge and experience. Okay, look at point A. Key principle and importance about teaching and learning comprehension. What are the key principle and the importance of teaching and learning comprehension? Summarize the key principle. What are the key principle? Okay, teaching and learning comprehension is here. Effective comprehension makes students think. So if the comprehension is effective, will make students to think. A good comprehension technique gives students a reason for reading and or listening. So if the technique is good, it can give the reason for the student to read and to listen. Number 3, students should use a wide range of comprehension text. Students should use a wide range of comprehension text. Prediction play an important part in comprehension work. So here this is also important. Prediction is very important for a student to take part in the reading or listening. Text used for listening practice should usually be easier than those used for reading. So if you want to your student to practice listening, so they choose the listening text that is easier than reading, because the reading student can see the word and can see the pronunciation, so it is easy for the student to pronounce and to recognize the word. But for listening, it's a little bit difficult. Sometimes the pronunciation that for the native speaker, the student cannot understand. Okay, important points about teaching and learning comprehension. What are the important points of teaching and learning comprehension? In comprehension work, the student cannot directly control the speaker or writer, so it is a one-way communication. So while teaching, reading, or listening is only one-way communication because the student cannot control the speaker in the type or the writer because the text is already written. So they read the text, they have to follow the text. They cannot uh, control the writer, tell the writer what to do, that to do, those or tell the speaker to be slow down, to be fast example, to be clear, to be loud example like that. Most techniques for reading can be used to teach listening and vice versa. So the technique that they use for reading can be also used for teaching listening. And the technique that they use for teaching listening can be also used for teaching reading. This is interconnected. The main differences between reading and listening are control of technique by students and teachers. So the difference between reading and listening here, the control of technique by student teacher, type of text, type of text. Okay, number 4, students should use a wide range of comprehension text for a range of purposes. And number 5 is there are 3 characteristics of a good comprehension techniques. What are 3 characteristics of good comprehension techniques? Okay, one is it makes students think. So good comprehension technique, it makes students think. Number 2, it guides students in their comprehension. So the good techniques, it can guide the student in their understanding of the text or reading text or listening text. Number 3, it makes student give clear responses. It makes student give clear responses. If the student have to get clear techniques for reading or listening, so it makes student to give clear response to the reading or listening. Okay, number 6, comprehension guides and student responses can be linguistic. So the comprehension guide and the student response can be linguistic or non-linguistic. Linguistic refer to the student response in sentence or the guides, comprehension guide in sentence or in the text. Example, this is linguistic or non-linguistic, just show the pictures or the action example. So the guide can be the pictures or the action, and response also can be picture or action. Okay, number 7. Good comprehension techniques get a student to think and process information while they are reading or listening. So with the technique that we use to teach reading and listening, we choose the good techniques. So the student, we can involve students to think and to process the information while they are reading or listening. Number 8, point specific to listening. So what are the specific points for listening? Teacher use mainly in English in the class. So while teaching listening, the teacher uses mainly English in the class. The teacher can control the listening text, so we can pause the listening text, or we can move back, or you can move forward or backward of the listening text. Okay. More key principles of teaching and learning comprehension. What are the key principles of teaching and learning comprehension? A key principle is a belief or assumption which guides teachers in their teaching and the way they understand how students learn. So here, the principle is a belief or assumption that guides teacher in their teaching and the way that they understand how the student learn. Effective comprehension work make students think. So if the comprehension is effective, a comprehension work is effective, it will make students think. To think to okay involve the task, to take part in the task, to take part in the reading task or listening task. Students can concentrate more, learn more, enjoy learning more when they have to think. So if they have no idea about the listening text or uh, uh, reading text, they will not think. So, but if they concentrate, if the comprehension work is effective, so it will involve the student to think. They will concentrate more, they will learn more, they will enjoy learning more. The more the student have to think, the more they learn. So if the student do not have idea about the reading or listening text, they will not involve. Or if they do not involve, they will not learn. If they if we involve the student to think about the listening text or reading text, or if they understand the listening text, the topic or the topic of the listening or teach or reading, so the student will focus more and they will enjoy to learn more. Okay, sing means follow clue, processing information, solving problem. Okay, so when the student comprehend the text, the reading text or listening text, so they will follow the clue, they will process the information, and they can solve the problem. Okay, one more. A good comprehension techniques gives student a reason for reading and listening. If the teacher have a good techniques for teaching, listening, and reading, so it will allow the student or motivate the student to the reading or the listening. If they do not understand the reason of the reading or the listening, so they will not involve. So a good comprehension techniques gives the student a reason for reading or listening. Students comprehend and learn better if they have purpose of reading or listening to this. So if the student understand what is the purpose of reading, what is the purpose of listening, so they will respond more, they will learn more, they will concentrate more. Their attention is more focused. So if they understand the purpose of reading and listening, they will focus more. A good comprehension techniques will usually have a clear comprehension guide, such as a question to answer or a gap to fill, in which you give the reason for reading or listening. So a good comprehension technique that involves the student to take part in reading or listening is the guide and the question. If they while they are reading or while they are listening, if they do not have a task to do, we do not have question to answer to process the information from the reading or listening, they will not focus on their listening or reading. Student must receive and understand this guide before listening to reading the text so that they have reason for reading and listening. So before we ask students to read or listen, we have to guide, we have to explain them the purpose. If the student do not understand, if the student do not receive the information before they read or before they listen, so they will not respond to the reading or listening. Students should use a wide range of comprehension text. So why should students use a wide range of comprehension text? Because interesting topic motivates a student. So we have to choose the topic that is interesting. So if the topic is interesting, it will motivate student to learn. If the student interested in the topic, they will learn more. If the student do not interested in the topic, if the topic is not interesting, they will not learn. Use text with relate to student own knowledge and experience, speed up learning. So when we teach listening or reading, we have to choose the text that is suitable for the student knowledge, for student knowledge and experience. So if the text is not difficult, that is suitable for the student knowledge, so it can speed up the student learning. But if the text is difficult, more difficult for a student, so they will not be able to uh, take part in the learning. They will not interested in learning because the text is too difficult. So the listening, the learning cannot be upgraded. Okay, continue, please continue. Sorry for interrupting. Student needs a lot of comprehension practice, so teacher will need a lot of variety text. So as you know that student need a lot of practice. So teacher have to choose a lot of text to teach student. Almost any text can be used for comprehension practice with. Okay, so we can use any text to practice comprehension. Prediction should play an important part in comprehension. Prediction is an important real-life comprehension. So the student can think about they can motivate the text, the topic of the reading text or the topic of the listening text also motivate student to think about what is it in the what is the text about, what is the listening text about, by using prediction techniques. So prediction is an important real life comprehension. Many good techniques can be based on prediction. So the student can predict the topics of the reading text or the listening text. This involves them to think about the reading or the listening comprehension. Text used for listening practice should usually be easier than text for reading practice. You know that listening is a bit difficult and more difficult than reading. So the listening text that we choose to practice that we choose to take others into practice, we have to find a text that is suitable for our student level, and it is easier than the reading text. Listening is usually more difficult than reading because the listener does not have control over the text. So you know that listening, when we play the listening, the speaker just speak fluently. So the listener cannot control the speaker. They cannot ask the speaker to slow down or to speak clearly, or example like that. So when teaching listening, we have to choose the listening text that is much easier. Spoken English is simpler than written English. Important point about teaching and learning comprehension. 1. In comprehension work, the student cannot directly control the speakers or writer, so it is a one-way communication. This is the important point about the teaching and listening comprehension because it is a one-way communication. The student cannot control the speaker, the writer, or the text of the speaker. In the audio, they cannot control, they cannot tell this speaker to slow down or to speak clearly. Example. The reader listener cannot directly control or influence the writer or the speaker. Students must learn comprehension skill and language knowledge. Face-to-face interaction, on the other hand, is a two-way communication process because listeners can control speaker in all kinds of ways such as asking for repetition, confirming, taking a speaking turn. Example. So face-to-face we call is the two-way communication because we can control. The listener can control the speaker. The listener can ask the speaker to repeat or to confirm or to take the speaking turn or to speak loudly or to speak clearly, example like that. The comprehension techniques in this section meant a train student in one-way communication and one-way listening. So this is only one-way communication, one-way listening. Most techniques for reading and also be used to teach listening and vice versa. So the technique that we use to teach reading and listening are the same. The main difference between teaching, listening, and reading are the control or attack by student. So the student can control the control or attack by student. Reading, the student can control. They can speak. They can read fast. They can read slow, or the teacher can ask student to read clearly or slowly or loudly. But for the listening cannot be. The type of text, you can choose the type of text. The difference that listening text that we choose to teach the student must be easier than the reading text. So the difference is type of text. Type of text for listening is much easier than the type of text for reading. Students and teacher control text in comprehension. Okay, student can control text. Okay, in reading, student has more control over text than in listening. Thôi ra giờ tụi nó move on. Next one. Student and teacher control the control of text in comprehension. Student control of the text. In reading, student has more control over the text than in listening. So as you know that in reading text, so student can control the text. They can read the text quickly. They can read the text slowly. They can read the text loudly. Example like that. But for the listening, they cannot. Okay, example like read quickly, slowly, jump ahead, go back, play, pay more attention to one paragraph than another, to the grammar and vocabulary. This is the way of the student can control the reading text. In listening to a story, new items, a lecture example. However, the student cannot jump around the text and must try to follow the speaker in the best way she can. Teacher control of the text. The teacher can control how the student comprehends the text by choosing the text and the techniques to use it with and including the guide response. This is the way that the teacher can control the reading text while they teach the reading. When the students are usually reading, the teacher cannot control what the student does. With listening, however, there are ways she can control student response to the text. So when reading aloud, the teacher can easily vary the speed, repetition, volume, length of information, chunk, pause, etc. Type of text. So the different type of text between listening and reading. Text vary according to level. Listening is usually, though not always, more difficult than reading. So we cannot teach the listening text more difficult than reading. Spoken English is simpler than written English. So as you know, spoken English. So the speaker must speak simple language so the student can understand easily. Okay, B. Using text with topics similar to students speed up the development of good comprehension skill. So when teaching reading or listening text, we have to choose the text that is similar to the student level. So it will motivate the student to learn more, and it can speed up the student learning, especially can develop the comprehension skill. Okay, number 4, students should use use writing of comprehension text for a range of purpose. So, sorry. Okay, interesting topic motivates students to learn. As you know that the topic that is interesting, if the topic can interest the student, it will motivate student to learn more. Teacher will need a lot of text, for comprehension because student need a lot of comprehension practice. So teacher need to use different reading text for student to practice because student need to practice different topic. A variety of text type, example like story, factual items, poem, instruction, etc. is essential to keep students interested. So this is especially a story. Stories are the poem, This is an interesting topic for us to learn. Get motivation to learn more. The same text can be used several times for different purposes using different techniques. So we can use the same techniques for different time, for different purpose, and we can use different techniques. A good comprehension techniques activate student mind. As you know that if the techniques for teaching comprehension, we select a good technique for teaching comprehension, it can motivate students to think about the topic. They can predict, they can learn more, they can share the idea related to the topic. Three characteristics of good comprehension techniques. What are the three characteristics of good comprehension techniques? Okay, one, it makes them to think. So the technique that we think is a good techniques, the technique that can make students to think about the topic. It guides them in their comprehension. So it tells the student what they should do, okay, what they will do while they are reading or listening, or after they read or after they listen. Number three, it makes them give clear response. So if the comprehension technique is good, it will help the student to give clear response. They will know how to respond and what to respond. Okay, number six, comprehension guide and student responses can be linguistic, non-linguistic. In fact, you learn already this one. You spend your slide already. So, comprehension guide and student response can be in the form of linguistic and non-linguistic. Guide and responses can be linguistic or non-linguistics. Linguistic, the student can be used to respond in sentence example, and non-linguistic can be in the form of picture or mime or action example like that. Okay, number two, linguistic guide student response can be in English or in L1. So we can ask student to respond in English or in L1, the student own language. Number seven, good comprehension techniques get students to think and process information while they are reading or listening. Other activity can be used before and after the main techniques. So this point one here, good comprehension techniques get students to think and process information. Yes. So when we teach the comprehension reading or listening, we have to find the good techniques that can motivate students to think about the topic. Example summary of possible comprehension activity, pre, while, or post. So we can motivate students to think about the activity, summarize the activity before reading, pre-reading, while reading, or post-reading, or pre-listening, while listening, post-listening. This run out of battery, sorry for that. Okay, the computer is out of battery, so I have to pause this video on this much because it is already 30 minutes already. This is unit 5, chapter 5. Reading and teaching and learning comprehension part 1, and I will teach you part 2 from points 7 and so on and so forth. So the first part is only this much because the computer is out of battery. Okay, thank you. See you. Enjoy your learning. Bye bye.